Well, I'd say that's a good quarter of an inch of much needed rain. So let's empty that out. Back in the ground we go. Because we are forecast to get a little bit more rain today. Excuse the weeds, y'all. YouTube friends and family, welcome to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader, where we have chickens out living their best life over here. They think I have a treat. I got one coming up behind me. So I thought I would show you a couple exciting things in the garden this morning. So if you just look at, and y'all, I know my tomatoes are a hot mess, but if you just look at the garden overall, you'll notice it looks a little bit different. And I want to show you a few things I found this morning in the garden. Stay tuned. You girlies finding all the good worms? Yeah. So I had some sunflower seeds and I planted those and they are actually doing great. I'll have to kind of move this chicken wire. But I had planted and had sprout 2 Kajari melon. And they have just been loaded, y'all. Loaded with blooms galore everywhere I look. And I was getting so discouraged because I haven't seen a single melon. But y'all look, my first Kajari. I am super excited. I will be talking to it on the daily. I haven't found any more. There's a huge orange pumpkin there, somewhere over there, huge one down in there. Way too much grass, but as the pumpkins grab onto that, it helps the vines to travel. So I was very excited about that. I also want to show you, I've been working very hard on all sorts of pumpkins. And y'all, look, I'm continuing to get new pumpkins every few days. So even though I've had an early harvest, some of the vines are dying back. This is very typical of this time of the year, maybe a little early in the season. Now here's one that looks like it didn't get fully pollinated, so that one's not gonna make it. I can tell by the color not being green. But over here, I am getting loads of blooms on my squash. What I am noticing is, like here, this one didn't get adequately pollinated, and this is my loofah, or luffa, either way. But I also realized that we have a good full 2 months, today is August 7th, before I have to worry about frost. So I'm just gonna let these all continue to take over my garden. Feel free to admire my butternut squash. I have a mammoth sunflower that is now way, way taller than me. There's Miss Violet back there. And then a lot of sunflowers here that are losing their petals, and they will be producing tons and tons of seeds that I can perhaps feed the chickens, but I can definitely save them for next year's growing. So y'all, here's my girlies' bad habits. They love tomatoes. They love to eat the seeds out. They are quite content to pick a tomato. And there's a huge one down there, but it's not completely ripe. Huge here. And you'll notice my vines have deteriorated, but I still have loads and loads of tomatoes that I think, with proper care and watering, still a bunch of blooms, I am going to continue to get some tomatoes. So this is what not to do with your tomatoes, but I'm very pleased with the amount I've gotten. I have some lovely zinnias and a second growth of my mint and lemon balm, which is nice to have. I still am getting blooms on my peppers. I have a pepper right there. My peppers did not do as well this year, but I still got a gracious plenty. I have a lot of jalapenos on the vine. So yeah, this is what the garden looks like today. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to go do some food preservation, and I'm going to make, as promised, a homemade pizza. I'll be sharing shortly what is in my freeze dryer, but first of the week, I definitely want to freeze dry some more of my sage. I've been hitting the basil pretty heavily for my tomato confit, but I still have a ton. And I still have rosemary. I've harvested that down pretty heavily. So that I don't think I'll have for freeze drying herb-wise. But my chives, as you see, have gone crazy. You know, initially, y'all, I said I did not like my cherry tomatoes in the green stalk. And guys, I have to tell you, this has produced beautifully, has had less pest problems. That's hard to say. And then, of course, I have all my beautiful New Guinea impatiens. And it's rained, so please ignore the wilted petunias. But I think I will do this again next year because they just cascade over, and they've done fine without a lot of support. And you can see there's still a ton. All right, y'all, try to speak up a little bit. So in the freeze dryer, I put some slices of watermelon. And this is going to take, being a high water content, this will probably take 24 to 30 hours to freeze dry. But I've heard such great things, and I wanted to use the watermelon and not let it go to waste. I wasn't in the mood to eat it fresh, so I've started this up. Once this finishes, I will have room for some herbs. Well, I've assumed the position, y'all. Actually, I have my 9x13 baking dish because I harvested all of these beautiful cherry tomatoes, and I am going to add to my tomato confit because, guys, I have to tell you, I have eaten that every single day. It is so delicious. I made some what's called country French bread. It's not a true to form French bread, but it very good. And guys, these have all been washed in the Thieves fruit and vegetable wash. I'm just popping off the crowns, and then a couple of them have maybe just a small mark. I'll just pull that off, and I'm going to roast these whole in 450-degree oven. I think this batch I'm going to roast a little bit longer. I'm going to coat them in olive oil, and wow, this knife is like dull city, guys. It's only like 10 years old, so that was when I was in my pink camo phase. But this is so delicious, and because you all said you would like to see some pizza making, I thought what better thing to try than to put some of this on pizza, because I think it's going to be amazing. Now, this batch isn't quite as large as the other batch. And the other thing I can tell you, and this is just a personal preference, I used sliced garlic, which was what the directions said. I really didn't love the sliced garlic. It's pretty garlicky to, eat a whole slice of garlic. So I think with this batch, I'm going to use some rotten tomato, crushed garlic. So yeah, I have tons and tons of cherry tomatoes. But what I wanted to talk to you about this morning, just for a few minutes, is talk a little bit about the Every Bit Counts challenge that Jessica over at Three Rivers Homestead is doing. And what I have to tell you is I was like, well, that won't work for me. Okay, that one's no good. Because I don't have enough. I mean, she's feeding a family of 9. So there is a big difference, right? I don't have enough ready to preserve something every day. And I really don't. So I think modifying the challenge for me to just making every bit count as best I can. Honestly, y'all, all of these cherry tomatoes, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. So trying a new recipe gave me, kind of a new lease on tomatoes. And I'm super happy that I found a use for them that I really liked. Yesterday, I did do some harvesting. I'm going to show you my tomato palooza. and I've done harvesting this morning. So that's something that I do need to do on the daily, but I don't always have enough of something to preserve it. I don't run my freeze dryer. I get a lot of questions about my freeze dryer. I don't run my freeze dryer unless it's full. I have a Harvest Right medium freeze dryer. Y'all, they have good sales. It is an investment. So what I would say is go out to their website, sign up to be on their email. You'll get some emails, but you will also find, if you're interested, when they have their sales. They just had a sale, so I didn't check before I started this video to tell you whether or not it's on sale. It's been an amazing investment for me. I have been able to preserve so much food. And one of the things that I am so delighted to have it for is my chicken eggs, because right now, guys, I'm pretty much getting 4 eggs a day. So in a week, I have over 2 dozen eggs. Well, I'm obviously not going to eat that many. So I do sell my eggs. If you're local and interested, drop me a comment, and I'll be happy to get back with you, make arrangements. But, you know, I can't always sell my overage. So I'm kind of getting to the point in the season, y'all, where I need to freeze dry some of them because I've got so many. The freeze dryer does have a tendency to run 24/7. How does it affect my electric bill? It does affect my electric bill. And that's just the oven. Sorry guys, I forgot I preheated the oven. I recommend, it does produce heat if it's inside your house, which mine is. It's in my pantry. I open a window, put a fan on reverse behind it, and I suck out, if you will, the hot air. And then I put a floor fan in front of it on those really hot days if I really need to freeze dry and I can't wait for a cooler day. Today's a really cool day. That's why yesterday was miserable. It was supposed to rain. Did it rain, you ask? Why no? No, it did not. So what I ended up doing is just waiting another day, which I could. You know, the watermelon was ripe, but it wasn't, you know, in danger of, and I do cut some of the big ones in half. It wasn't in danger of spoilage. I didn't want to lose it, but I also didn't want to run that freeze dryer on a nearly 90-degree day with very, very high, bad tomato, humidity. So y'all have seen me do this before, but I just wanted to give you a bit of encouragement. Even if you can't participate, like I don't feel like I can participate in a daily food preservation, do what you can. And when I get to the point where I'm like, really, because I'm over it, or I would rather go to the antique store, instead of feeling that way, okay, always drop one on the floor, because I personally believe it's good luck. One would think that watching my videos, wouldn't y'all? I try to think of it like, what if this was all I had, and I knew that this was what had to sustain me all winter for some weird reason. Okay, it is a kind of a way of thinking that isn't truthful, but it kind of motivates me to make sure that I am being a good steward of all my foods. I shared before, I have never had a garden produce like this ever. So next year, my garden will look different. I won't have the need to do nearly as much food preservation. So I may try to do some things that I've never done before. At first I thought, well, I'll just do flowers and pumpkins, because those are my favorite things to do. But then I thought, you know, maybe I should try some vegetables, maybe that are a little more challenging, that I don't have preserved, and just continue to be a good steward of my land and any resources. Okay, guys. So we have a nice full dish. I'm going to coat these in olive oil and salt. I'm going to go into the oven for about 25 minutes, I think. Let me clean up this mess. I'm going to share with you my tomato harvest, and then we're going to get on to making a homemade pizza. So I did have a request, let me say this before I get up, for gluten-free. This particular pizza will not be gluten-free, but and I won't monopolize the channel with pizza, even though it's my favorite food and I could monopolize my diet with it. But I just want to share with you how simple it is to make a homemade pizza, because I am astounded, y'all, at the price of pizza. So let me get this redded up and I will be back to share my tomatoes and pizza crust recipe. All right, y'all. If you wonder why between segments I look like I'm leaning over and stretching, it's because I'm kind of short and it's hard for me to reach the camera from this distance. But first, let me show you. I have some basil in here. I cannot hardly lift this. I would say this is about 25 pounds of tomatoes. And thank you all that were on my live a week ago Sunday that shared with me how you freeze them until you can batch cook them. So what I have done is I have washed them and, removed any obvious dirt whatsoever. And then I am separating them out by type. So if it is a paste tomato, it goes in one different color reusable Ziploc freezer bag. If it's purple, it goes in another, etc., etc. And that way I won't just have to can like paste with slicers with purples. I can actually separate them out. So these are not quite ripe. Some are ready. So I'll be going through those and putting them in the freezer in the bags that I've already started. So one thing I can tell you all is Monday is kind of a reset day for me. And yesterday was a long day. Due to some time constraints, we did it on a Sunday. I'm helping my cousins prepare my aunt's home for a big estate sale. Guys, if you are local, I'll try to share it on my channel when the estate sale is going to be. If you're into mid-century, y'all should have some very rare items that I think you might be interested in. Lots and lots of vintage canning jars, 1950s patterns, sewing patterns, vintage fabrics, every appliance you can imagine. So it's going to be a great sale. But anyway, I spent 7 hours doing that, so I got nothing done but harvest and care for my animals. But let's get on to talking about pizza dough. Y'all, there's a million ways to do pizza dough. I love using my bread machine to mix up the dough. I will leave a link to this bread machine cookbook. Guys, I use this all the time. And I have my favorites, as you see, with all the all the tags. But I also love trying new things. My son has the same book. He's an amazing cook. So he will try one and let me know, and then I will try one and let him know. So they have a basic pizza dough, which is what we're going to use today, which is just all-purpose flour. There is a semolina pizza dough. There is a quick pizza sauce recipe. Lots of ideas for ways to make your pizzas, like toppings or themed pizzas, I'll say. There's a whole wheat. There is a cornmeal pizza dough, which I think would be amazing. So I also had the request for the gluten-free. I'm going to have to do a little research on that. But let's just make some basic pizza dough and talk a little bit about ways that you can use odds and ends from your refrigerator, from your garden, from fermented vegetables to top your pizza. So I have a zojirushi. I will link it. The pan comes out. I think most bread machines it does. And the basic premise of using a bread machine is you layer your ingredients with your liquids on the bottom, other ingredients and dry ingredients next. Any salt goes in the corners so it doesn't deactivate yeast if it's a yeast spread, and the yeast goes in the middle. So very simple. So to start, 1.25 cups of water. Now, the zojirushi actually heats the entire pan and all the ingredients to the proper temperature for the yeast before it starts to mix. So I don't need to worry about using room temperature, and I am using reverse osmosis water. Now, the next thing is 1/4 cup extra virgin olive oil. And y'all, I'm gonna get a different cup. That's a big measuring cup. So, the extra virgin olive oil advantage, in my opinion, is it has a lot more flavor than a classic. If you like classic better, use classic. I don't think it's gonna really impact the outcome. Y'all know I can't have everything ready. And I have some company coming this evening, so I'm gonna sweep them up, just looking at the floor, eye track, and all kinds of grass. Okay, so we've got all of our liquids in the bottom. How simple is this, y'all? So yesterday at my aunt's, they ordered pizza, and y'all, pizza is outrageous. Can I just say that? It is outrageously expensive, just crazy. Next, it calls for 3.5 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. And there is a note that says, use unbleached. Is that? Now I'm not sure how much I got there. Okay, that's half a cup. 1/2. Guys, let me do this, and then I'll explain that. 1.5. 2. 2.5. 3. Oh, yeah, don't do that. And the last 1/2. So it does say use unbleached flour, that it will roll out easier. I'm sure it'll be fine if you don't happen to have unbleached flour. All right, that ingredient's in. This is so easy. The next is a tablespoon of sugar. Now, some of you may say, well, I don't want to use sugar. Can I use a cup for cup Splenda? I don't know how that will affect the yeast. I honestly don't know. But sugar is important for flavor, for browning of your crust, and it also helps activate your yeast. We need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Now, if you're salt sensitive, you may be like, oh, can't I just omit that? Your crust will be pretty tasteless if you do. So just know that it does impact the taste. So I'm just using pink Himalayan. I'm gonna carefully dust it into the corners like a yeso. And then the final ingredient is our yeast. So let me grab that out of the freezer. And guys, I am using SAF yeast, so I need 2 teaspoons. If you're using bread machine yeast, it's 2.5 teaspoons. So what I say, I need 2 teaspoons. Maybe I'm trying to do too much at once today. I saw the floor and I kind of panicked. All right, now I'm gonna read a little bit to you about what this recipe says. It says, sometimes I wonder whether the bread machine was invented just to mix and rise pizza dough, since so many bakers seem to do only that with their machines. After the dough cycle is complete, the dough is removed, shaped by hand, topped to desired, and then baked off. And there's some steps after it's mixed. So it says, place all the ingredients in the pan, program for the dough or pizza dough cycle, and press start, and the dough ball will be soft. So on the Zojirushi, depends on your bread machine, I have a dough cycle, which is cycle number 11. And it says it will be ready at 10:30 and it's 8:45, so it does take a bit of time. So I will bring you back after I do some frantic housework. And we're ready to take the dough out of the machine and do some things with it before we're ready to roll it out. And we're gonna make a really delicious pizza for our dinner today. I hope you're enjoying the pizza adventures, and I will see you all in just a second for you, but a couple hours for me. Stay tuned. My apologies, y'all. All right, so we have allowed our dough to complete its cycle. I've turned it out onto a very clean counter, onto a floured surface. Y'all, this is about tripled in size. And so what the directions actually say is you want to turn it out onto a floured surface. Then it says, divide into the desired number of portions, and the dough is quite soft, quite lovely. And so I am thinking that this is going to be good as 3 pizzas. This is just Kym's impression. So let me set those aside. And then it says, knead it a few times, fold the edges into the center, like yay. Shape it into a disc. Now, I'm not going to eat 3 pizzas, although I probably could, y'all. But at any rate, this dough is a dream to work with. You can refrigerate it for 24 hours. You can freeze it as well. I'll give you the specifics here just in a moment. But we're going to cover this with a damp towel and then let it rise the next 30 minutes, as the directions say. How beautiful is the dough. So these aren't going to be huge pizzas. I might make 2. I don't know. I'm just going to take a clean tea towel. This is like a thin linen towel. I'm going to go ahead and dampen it, and I'm just going to lay it over the counter here. I will bring you back in 30 minutes, and then we will get to baking some yum pizza. Right, y'all. This dough has just risen and behaved beautifully. So I decided to call it, that was, because it was getting overproofed, so to speak. So the next thing you want to do is start your rolling. Now, I may have to use a little bit of flour. Let me grab that. Maybe just a little on the pizza and a bunch on the rolling pin. And this is 1/3 of the dough, so I'm not even using the whole batch. I'm only using 1/3 of it. You can roll it thin, you can roll it thick. I would say you do you. Never met a pizza I didn't like yet. I mean, it could happen. Now, you will probably notice there's quite a bit of elasticity in your dough, so it may want to continue to return to the shape from which it came. So you may have to be kind of patient with it if you want a thinner crust. So we're having success here. It's relaxing. You can build it up a little bit on your edges if you like. You know, don't roll completely to the edge. If you like it saucy. And again, guys, this is not a huge pizza for me. I would say it would be the equivalent of about an extra large if you used all the dough. Now, what I'm going to do here is something kind of strange. Let me grab some spray. I'm just going to spray the back of a pizza pan with a little olive oil. And y'all don't judge my pizza pan. It's pretty bad. It's not exactly new. It's one of the things I need to get myself. But I'm going to cook this on a pizza stone. So over in the oven, I have my oven preheating to 450. You can do 450 or 500 because Miss Cindy, my oven, has a tendency to run a little warm. I'm going to do 450. Now, let's talk a little bit about sauce. And you all may gasp when I do this, but this is some home canned pizza sauce I made. What do you notice about it, guys? It's super thin. I made this actually 3 years ago. I think it would still be fine, but I'm gonna use my handy dandy jar opener. I'm gonna use some Great Value. That smells really, really good. So I'm gonna start with a little sauce. And so during my break, I did some housework. I started a pot of yogurt, a very small pot of yogurt, because I have some milk that I had purchased for my recipe that I didn't want to, just waste. So make it as saucy or as unsaucy as you like. I used very little of this jar. I think this time when I can pizza sauce, I'm going to do it in pints. Now, I'm going to change it up on you a little bit. So I have these beautiful confit cherry tomatoes in oil. And these would not fit, guys, in my half-gallon jar from this morning. So I'm going to make what's called a margherita pizza. Not like the drink, right? But instead of using fresh sliced tomatoes, I'm going to use these confit tomatoes rather than to just toss them. So, wow, I've got a lot of them too. So I didn't sauce super, super heavy, but it's going to be good. And I'm actually going to save that oil from the confit tomatoes and just jar it up in the fridge to use in salad dressings or for other applications. Okay, so here's where we are. Next, I'm gonna take some freshly harvested basil and I'm just gonna tear it into small shreds. I haven't been able to talk all day, y'all, because I personally don't like a great big bite of basil. I love basil though. This is going to be so delicious, y'all. And then I'm going to top it with strips and pieces of some mozzarella cheese. I do buy my mozzarella cheese in bulk logs, I guess you would call it, from Azure Standard. They have great cheeses. So here's what we look like. Now, when the oven beeps that it's preheated, I am going to slide it out onto that now 450 degree stone that is already in the oven, and I'm going to bake it. It says 12 to 14 minutes for an average recipe. Since this is a smaller pizza, I'll keep a really close eye on it. In the meanwhile, my other two crusts, you can put them in a baggie or wrap them in saran, however you want to do it, and refrigerate them for up to 24 hours, or you can freeze them for up to 3 months. So I will probably just wrap them because this might be pizza week. And I have a lot of fermented vegetables that I would like to try on a pizza. I have some radishes, and they're very mild tasting. I have some turnips. I've never had a turnip pizza. There's all kinds of options, y'all. You can use a white sauce. You can just brush your crust with oil and put shredded parm on there. There are so many ways to use up little bits and pieces from your garden for leftovers. I want to do a deluxe as well because I had a lot of green peppers that I've chopped and prepped in the fridge. So those are ready for use as well. So I will bring you back when we have pizza, y'all, and we'll do a taste test and I'll give you my honest opinion of what this crust tastes like, because that's really the only homemade part. All right, stay tuned. All right, y'all. The best laid plans of a pizza stone. For the life of me, I could not get the pizza off of the back of the pan. But guys, look at this beauty. Look at it. How amazing. I'm not gonna burn myself, I promise. How delicious does that pizza look? One bite. Let's give it a little taste test. And I know it's gonna be hot, chew, but hey, that's okay. I should keep a mitt on. I'm notorious for burning myself and forgetting a pan is hot, so. All right, so I lost a little bit of the topping, which is my cutting ability. Ouch, hot, hot chew. All right, here we go. That looks, look at this string of cheese, y'all. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm eating on my fine china. I know you're gonna want some, Walmart. But it's done all the way through. So let's give it a taste. Hoo-wee. Y'all let me get a fork. We'll try it that way because I can see myself burning myself. So let's get some cheese and some crust. Y'all. Oh yeah. Wow. Very yeasty, delicious crust. And, pardon me for speaking with my mouth so full. One of the problems I generally have when I've tried to make homemade pizza is I can't find a crust that tastes good that can get done in the middle. You all got to try this. Yeah, try it. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button. Leave me a comment below what's your favorite pizza combo. I'll put the other two crusts in the fridge. I'll be trying some, pardon me guys, some different combos. I want to do a deluxe, but I want to try one of the different crusts. I also want to try that cornmeal crust. Wow, I got those chickens in just in time, guys. It just started raining. I am so happy we are getting rain, and I hope you all are too, and that your weather is cooling down a little bit. I will see you all a little later this week. You know what to do until then. Bake you some pizza. Be healthy, be well, be blessed. Take care.